expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production of Glory 93.9 FM.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Ladera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Wardrobe provided by Bahari Bahamas. Visit shopbahari.com. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for joining me. So, y'all know yesterday I had said that today's show was going to be looking at alternative solutions, right? And my guests were all set and everything was all good to go. And then last night I was watching the news and I heard about the Shanty Town ruling. And I said, oh no, we got to change topic tomorrow. And so here I was last night frantically trying to put together a show for today to deal with the Shanty Town ruling, because I think that it is that important. My guests who were scheduled for today agreed to postpone that show until later on to make way for me to try to put together a show today dealing with the Shanty Town ruling. And so late into the night, here I am trying to confirm some guests, and I did get 2 guests confirmed. However, they are both going to be late because clearly I didn't reach out to them until last night. And they both had other things planned for this morning. Both had meetings, but one said that he will join me. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that his meeting, which started at 10:30, will be over by no later than, say, 11:30, hopefully, fingers crossed. And hopefully John Bostwick will be able to join us at that time. And then Fayne Thompson just advised me a few minutes ago that he won't be able to come on until the second half of the show at 12 o'clock. So we're going to, have to wait for them both to get here, because I went after them both because they both have very strong views on this matter and they both have opposing views on this matter. And that tension, I think, would make for a great show. And so I was very, very thrilled when they both said that they could do the show. But now I'm finding myself in a position where they're going to be both coming on a bit late. So no worries. I'm sure that we will be able to carry this up until the time that they arrive. So for those of you who are living under a rock or who didn't watch the news last night or who don't know what I'm talking about when I say the Shanty Town ruling, because I know some of you are saying, but they deal with that months ago. No, it was a new ruling passed down yesterday by the Supreme Court. And in that ruling, Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson, I thought she was a Bethel. This article from Eyewitness News says Cheryl Grant Thompson. Maybe she got married again. Okay, so she passed down a ruling, in essence saying that the Supreme Court has extended its Shantytown injunction to the entirety of Abaco, and we're going to break this down during the show today, preventing the government from destroying Shantytown communities without first bringing evidence of a breach of law to the court. So the government has to stop breaking down these homes in the shanty towns, and if they want to continue breaking down homes, they have to first bring evidence to the court to say that there was a breach of law in the erection of this home, and then the court will have to give them permission to break down these illegally constructed homes. So the substantive judicial review of the Shantytown matter is still under review by the court. And she said that she is of the view that the judicial review application before the court ultimately affects every Shantytown in Abaco, and as such should be extended to cover all of them. Now, you may recall that original ruling had said that it was governing the destruction of homes in the communities that were impacted directly by Dorian, and there should be no new building, right? That's what the original ruling said, in essence. Okay, she is now saying that she is of the view that the judicial review application before the court ultimately affects every Shantytown in Abaco, even the ones that are just going up now, and as such should be extended to cover them all. So she made it clear that the government has a right to clear and demolish homes, but it should bring evidence of a breach of law to the court prior to the action. She continued, the court is not saying that the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas does not have the right to demolish and clear down homes in that are clear down homes that are in breach of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority Act 2019, or for any other reason, it may require such measures. However, if the government, I don't know this word, avers that certain structures should be demolished because of a health hazard violation of the law or otherwise, evidence of this should be presented to the court prior to the action taking place. The decision of the court, therefore, is to deny the application of the respondents to vary the injunction to exclude the island of Abaco. The original injunction was granted in August of 2018. The judge said she reviewed the evidence from both the respondents and applicants. She said that the court is of the view that injunction should not be varied to exclude the Abaco applicants, and it is incumbent that the court does whatever it can in its power to preserve the status quo. Now, let me make a correction, because I said a moment ago Shantytowns that were impacted by Dorian. This ruling actually went down before Dorian. You remember the government started to tear down the homes, and then the courts halted that action, and then Dorian came and finished the job. So let me just make a correction there so we can understand the history of what happened here. The judge said she viewed the evidence from both the respondents and applicants, and she said the court is of the view that the injunction should not be varied to exclude the Abaco applicants, and it is incumbent that the court does whatever it can in its power to preserve the status quo. She said while it was mindful of the duty of the government to moving and even in some instances destroying buildings, the injunction should prevail if only one home of one resident's rights are protected. Now, we're going to break this thing down because I have some serious questions with regard to this ruling and certain wordings that were used in this ruling. The applicants requested for the injunction to cover all Shantytown communities in the Bahamas, but the judge denied this request. The judge said the applicants failed to provide sufficient evidence to support their request that all Shantytowns should be covered. She said the applications have not provided evidence where the government's policy has impacted any Shantytown residents outside of Abaco and New Providence. She said the court is of the view that the injunction should not be varied to exclude the Abaco applicants, and it is incumbent that the court does whatever it can in its power to preserve the status quo. The government has indicated its intention to appeal the ruling. Okay, so I really can't wait till these legal minds sign on, because I have some serious questions that I need answered. And I'm glad that they are legal minds who can sort of break this down. Because this ain't sitting well with me. And I know many Bahamians feel the same way. But I want to have this conversation in a very rational way, a very legalistic way. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have once these gentlemen sign in, because there are some very, very serious questions here that I think need to be answered. Now, before we go further down into explaining this ruling, it's ironic that on the very same day that that ruling was handed down, there was a ruling handed down by the Supreme Court of the United States regarding TPS residents who arrived illegally, saying that they have no right to a green card. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the law in the United States as it relates to your right to work there, you have to have a green card to give you the rights to work there if you are not a legal citizen. Okay, so here's a report. I think I got this from the LA Times. It says, the Supreme Court on Monday dealt a setback to hundreds of thousands of immigrants who have so-called temporary protected status, that's what TPS stands for, ruling they can't have a green card if they entered the country illegally. In a 9-0 decision, the justices said federal law protects these immigrants from deportation and it allows them to obtain a work permit, but it does not give them the right to have lawful permanent status. So that's what the green card is for, status. The right to lawful permanent status unless they are here pursuant to a lawful admission. That means TPS recipients who entered the country legally as students or tourists and stayed under TPS may obtain a green card, said Justice Elena Kagan. But the same is not true of those who entered illegally, because a grant of TPS does not come with a ticket of admission, she wrote. It does not eliminate the disqualifying effect of an unlawful entry. Same day that this ruling is handed down in the United States. Temporary protected status has been extended to about 320,000 immigrants from El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Sudan, Venezuela, and Yemen. But lower courts had been divided over whether these migrants, many of whom have lived here for decades, may apply for and receive lawful permanent status. 4 years ago, the Ninth Circuit Court in California ruled that TPS recipients had a lawful status and therefore were eligible for green cards even if they had entered the country illegally. Monday's ruling is the third in 3 weeks in which High Court has disagreed unanimously with the Ninth Circuit on a matter of immigration law. Okay. So, in essence, what they are saying in the handing down of this ruling by the Supreme Court in the United States is that if you entered here illegally, then we can't, and I put this in my own words, we can't make legal what started off as illegal. You come in this country illegally, no, you are not entitled to get a green card, which gives you the rights to permanent residency. That was the ruling in the United States. Here in the Bahamas, our Supreme Court rules that the government has no right to tear down these illegal structures without first getting permission of the court, because a very serious word that I thought was used in this ruling, and I am pulling it up right now. I want to quote the ruling. It says, if there remains only one home standing, this is the Bahamas ruling I'm reading from now. If there remains only one home standing where the rights of the resident or residents may ultimately be protected, if the conjunction had continued to cover Abaco, then the injunction will prevail until the completion of this matter. And so my question is, what makes one a resident? Because it seems that the Supreme Court Justice is concerned about protecting the rights of the resident, okay, who may be residing in one of those illegally constructed homes. She goes on to say the properties were occupied by predominantly immigrants allegedly without the requisite or proper status to reside. Notwithstanding, the court remains mindful of the human element involved, and these individuals have fundamental rights which are universal. Okay, so what makes one a resident to qualify for these rights? What makes one a resident? Are you a resident if you come on a boat and your foot hit land, you made it all the way to shore, and your foot hit land, and the U.S., when it comes to the Cubans, they used to call it the dry foot, wet foot policy. If they intercepted you out on the water before your foot hit land, then they could send you back to Cuba. But once your foot hit land, then you had rights to stay in the United States. That was their law. Wet foot, dry foot policy. Mind you, it only applied to Cubans. You try to come in from Haiti or the Bahamas, you was getting sent back home. You know, staying there. But for the Cubans, they had this law. Okay, so what constitutes you being a resident in the Bahamas? Are you a resident if your foot hit land? Does that make you a resident in the Bahamas? So you come on this boat. Praise God, you ain't drowned at sea. You make it all the way to the Bahamas. And your foot hit that land. Does that make you a resident of our country from a legal perspective? What is a resident? And what I don't understand in this whole argument about the government's right to tear down these shantytown homes, I have been saying all along that, in my opinion, the focus is on the wrong thing. Because somebody had to build those houses. This is my opinion. So why are we focusing on tearing down houses as opposed to intercepting the people who built those houses to determine whether or not they have legal rights to be in this country? And if not, doing what we need to do to send them back to their homeland. Why are we focusing on breaking down houses when we know full well that as fast as you break one down, they gonna build up another one? Fast as you break it down, they building again. So why is the focus on tearing down these houses when you refuse to deal with the people who built them? This real talk today now. Because I don't know about y'all, but I am quite frankly fed up. Now, what I don't get is this. We were on here talking about these people have rights. They have a right to come to my country illegally. They have a right to erect illegal structures. They have a right to contaminate my water table. They have a right to take advantage of my healthcare system. They have a right to take advantage of my education system. They have a right to work in the Bahamas with or without a legal work permit. They have a right to go squat on land, whether it's crown land or privately owned, and build whatever they want to build. They have a right. They got plenty rights. Where do we draw the line as it relates to comparing or balancing their rights to our laws? Do our laws mean nothing? Are they not worth the paper they have been written on? I can't wait for these fellas to come on the show because I got some questions I need answered. I need some answers here. Because maybe I am just not, well educated as it relates to the law. Maybe I just need somebody who is more informed and educated to inform and educate me. But if you come to this country illegally, how is it that you have all these rights? And why is it that we going through the public relations exercise of tearing these homes down, and the minister is actually going to say, it ain't my concern where the people go. Desmond Bannister actually let that come out of his mouth. It ain't my concern where the people go. All I know is we tearing down these homes. What's going on here? What is really going on here? Why are we not paying attention to the people who built these homes? How are we missing that in this whole equation? How is that not the focus? So I don't know, maybe if I were the government, what I would have done, instead of tearing down the people's homes that they obviously had a right to build, I would have just showed up at the door and whoever in the house, come show me how you have rights to be here. And if you can't show me how you have rights to be here, then you're going to be housed by me while we try to figure out whether or not you really have rights to be here. You're going to stay at, as my guest in a facility until we could determine if you truly have rights to be here. Because, in all fairness, you may have lost your papers in the hurricane, like some people are saying. So let me go to my Department of Immigration to find the paper to match, the documents to match the paper that you would have had. And if I can't find that in the Department of Immigration, then you know what happens next. Thanks for coming, but you got to go home. So why are you tearing down these houses and you know that as fast as you tear them down, they're going back up in another area. And then you're going to let them build until you get about 300 homes, 200 homes. And then you can say, oh, we got to go tear them set down now. Anybody missing this? Anybody? This making sense, anybody? Because it sure ain't making no sense to me. Now, again, excuse me. I'm hoping that John can join us sooner than Fayne, because Fayne has already indicated to me that he can't come on until 12 o'clock. And I'm really hoping that John's meeting doesn't go past another couple of minutes and that he'll be able to join us soon. Because I really, really want to hear from these gentlemen. They both have very opposing views. Okay? But I really want to hear their argument for and against this, and what it means for our country. Because this is going to have long-term implications, whether we realize it or not. One of the things that the ruling said was that it is incumbent that the court does whatever it can in its power to preserve the status quo. What status quo the court trying to preserve? And is that status quo, is that something we want to preserve? Let me read the full paragraph. I find the alleged actions are indeed deemed urgent. I have reviewed the evidence presented to the court by counsel for both the applicants and the respondents, respectively. The court is of the view that the injunction should not be varied to exclude the Abaco applicants. It is incumbent that the court does whatever it can in its power to preserve the status quo. What status quo is the court preserving as it relates to Abaco? Is that status quo, no matter how you get here, once you're here, you have universal human rights? Is that what the status quo is? We don't know what you bring in with you when you come in here illegally. You could be a hardened criminal. We don't know. We don't know who you are, what you did in your home country. But long as you make it to land, you have universal human rights to build and to live freely. Is that what the court means when it says to preserve the status quo? What is the status quo it's trying to preserve? Again, I'm not a legal mind, and my hope is that these gentlemen will join the show very, very soon to answer some of these questions that I have, and that I'm sure you have as well. I think, for me at least, the bottom line is this. You can't make legal what started off as illegal. You can't start illegally. You can't enter this country illegally. And then I try to make every way possible for us to give you legal rights. How does this work? I need somebody to break that down for me, Delton, because I need somebody to make it make sense. Because this ain't making no sense to me. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to take that first break. We're going to come back, look at a couple of your comments. Hopefully, we're going to be joined very soon by John Bostwick, who can help us to break this down. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Listen to Glory 93.9 FM for the best mix of traditional, classic, country, contemporary, and Caribbean gospel in New Providence, Bahamas.
Stop letting these other guys run you hot while looking for ice. No need to check the food store, the gas station, conveniently located around Nassau. Cooler Ice. So for just $3 you can get a bag of ice whenever you want, or refill your 5-gallon bottle for the same $3. The ice machine is closer than you know. Cooler Ice. With locations at Arawak Key, Potter's Key Dock, Montague Boat Ramp, Superwash locations at Prince Charles, Carmichael Road, Soldier Road, Charles Saunders Highway, and 3 new locations: Superwash Nassau Street, Wolf Road, and Gibbs Corner. Cooler Ice Bahamas, fresh and ready whenever you are.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267 702-7127 or 322-1317 for reservations.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Alive. Alive. Believe in best. And by Tropical Euros. Not just good food, it's an experience. And welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Today we're talking about the Shantytown ruling handed down yesterday by the Supreme Court here in the Bahamas and the implications thereof. My anticipated guests are John Bostwick and Fayne Thompson, both who are going to be joining the show late this morning, who will help us to break this down and help us to hopefully make some sense out of this. So in the meantime, the telephone line is 828-3543. 828-3543 is the number to call, and the text line is 828-2543. 828-2543 is the text line. We have a lot of comments that have already been put on our Facebook thread. Let me try and get to a couple of them. Okay, so Carla, let's see. Carla Lynn Sweeting says, just follow the money. Boy, Carla. And there's plenty of that to follow in this situation. Romel says, this song be little Haiti, too much slackness in the Bahamas. Let's see. Kevin says, ain't no Shantytown supposed to never get built back in Abaco because none was standing after Dorian. The country just slack. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see who else we have here. Dale says, if Bahamians are not prepared to stand up and defend their own Bahamas, possess the land, and stop turning a blind eye to wrongdoing, we will continue to lose this nation. Kevin, we tearing down the houses and creating another problem. If we ain't tearing it down with a solution, it's useless. The people still exist. I couldn't agree with you more. Because to me, that tearing down of the house and you ain't concerned about where the people go is absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous. Bilal says, it's like building a boat without a life raft, too much short-term thinking and not enough long-term. Peachy says, I'm fed up too, Michelle. This one bunch of nonsense. What about our human rights as Bahamians to not have our country invaded and infiltrated by those who have no respect for our laws and burdening our system? Who is fighting for actual Bahamians? Okay, we had a caller just now come in, but they hung up before I could get to the call, so please call back. The number again is 828-3543 to call. 828-3543 is the number to call. Kevin again says, how I see them landmarks out someone in high authority behind all this illegality. And listen, like Kymel says, we don't have an illegal immigrant problem. We have a Bahamian problem. Too many Bahamians are involved in this mess, making money from it, and don't care about selling the country down the river. Peachy says, we need to find out what treaties, conventions that our governments have signed onto that have us in this bind. Ain't no treaty. Ain't no treaty. We just got to fulfill the law that is already on the books. Caller, you need to turn your radio down, please. Turn your radio down, please.
Yes, I do that.
Okay, because we're getting feedback. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Yes, good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm okay. Mr. Malcolm, I just calling for you. I not concerning the topic of the day, but I want to leave my number with you. I need to get in contact with you because of the other thing I just knew in the day with the eating habit and stuff, because I have a blood pressure. I have all the trouble to keep control of.
I'll take your number and call you after the show, okay? Because we're talking about a serious topic this morning, so I will call you after
I just thought I would leave my number with you,
Okay, I can see the number here, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll call you after the show.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
All right. All right. So, getting back to what we're talking about today, this whole question of the illegal immigrants having the rights to build. Now, I hear a lot of people argue, rightfully so, that not everybody in those shantytown communities are illegal immigrants. Some are Bahamians. Some are migrants who have entered this country legally and have, work permits and all that kind of stuff. I hear all of that. But I believe that we need to find out who is who if we're serious about fixing this problem. Even so, whether they are Bahamians or persons who have entered the country legally does not give them the right to go squat on people land and start building. And I say people because it's not just Crown land they're doing this on, but it's privately owned land as well. That don't give nobody the right to go break our laws, because I certainly couldn't do it. They wouldn't have no problem putting handcuffs on me and locking me up. So is it that we as Bahamians have less rights in this country than foreigners? What in the world is going on in this country? Again, I think it's absolutely ludicrous to tear down a home and you ain't know where the people going and you ain't care where the people going. That's stupid, because you're creating another problem. Just do what you know is the right thing to do. Process these people. You know people who do yard work, right? I always wondered, what's the sense of those, those blowers that you see people using, Delton, those blowers and they just blow in the dirt from one place to the next? And I always say to myself, what's the point of the blower? Because the blower isn't eliminating the problem. It's just blowing it from one place to the next. I never understood the logic of the blower. So we tearing down these homes. We don't know where these people going, and we quite frankly don't care. According to Desmond Bannister, that ain't his problem, where they go. So it's just like the blower. You blowing them from one place to the next. You shifting the problem from one area to the next, because as fast as you tear this down, they're going someplace else to build. So what is the point of tearing down these homes if you are not going to process the people in them? Somebody make it make sense. Okay. Let me read a couple more of your comments as we wait for it. Looked like John was saying to be able to join us till 12 o'clock. It is it's almost 11:45. Okay. Let's read a couple more of your comments. Jamilat says, I've heard that most illegals come to the Bahamas by plane. Only a small amount come, but I know true, but no small amount now. No, don't say that. Only a small amount come by boat. Therefore, the immigration department at least can start to round up those who overstay. Child, please. Ain't no small amount coming by boat. Let's go to the phone. Please turn your radio down.
Hi, good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm calling to define the purpose of a blower for you.
Okay.
The purpose of a blower is to blow debris from one area or across of a wide place into one corner where you collect the debris and put it in bags. Okay. But the problem is the government is blowing these people with a blower but he is not there, not collecting them and sorting out the situation with who is Bahamian and who is not.
Okay.
Okay. And there is where we have a problem. Unless the government plans to do a comprehensive plan where they're going to destroy these homes, collect these persons, and sort them out as to who should be here and who shouldn't, then it defeats the purpose of tearing down the homes. Okay. So, you know, again, our government is working backwards. And I don't think they really want to fix this problem, because as far as I'm concerned, this is an easy problem to fix, but it appears that they don't want to fix the problem. So therefore the problem persists.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we need a government that is going to go in there with a comprehensive plan and decide that they got to fix this problem and show the Bahamian people that they are really serious about fixing this problem, because as far as I'm concerned, it's not a hard problem to fix. Okay.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the
Thank you,
explanation
my
of the blower. I think a part of my problem is every time I see people working with the blower, they ain't blowing it into no one section. They just blowing. And I'm like, what sense that make? So thanks for clarifying the definition of the blower. So what our government doing is what the typical fella does with the blower. He just blowing. They just blowing. It don't make no sense. And I agree with the last caller. I honestly agree that this is intentional. I think, and again, it's my opinion, I believe that the whole tearing down of the homes thing is really just a PR exercise. So they could say, see, we doing something about the illegal immigration problem. See, we tearing down these shanty towns. See, we taking this serious. But at the same time, you ain't processing the people who was living in the houses. Now you're concerned where they go. That should be your first concern. Before you tearing down structures and creating another problem, because they're here, whether we like it or not, they're here. And while they're here, there should be some shelter over their head. Right? Now, whether that shelter is the one that they build in the shanty town or a holding facility while you process them, that's a question we need to be answering, where that shelter should be. But it cannot be where you tearing down these people's homes that they built, albeit illegally, and then you can say, I ain't care where you go? What kind of foolishness is that? You're creating another problem. Why is the focus not on processing the people in those homes? Finding out who have legal rights to be here and who does not. And if it is found that you don't have a legal right to be here, you and the children you put in front of the UN for show need to go to Haiti. And if those children were born here, then they have a right at 18 to apply, if they so desire, to become a citizen of the country from outside the country. You cannot make legal what started off as illegal. So Lord, please let these two gentlemen hurry come on the show, because I really need some guidance here. I need some guidance, because this ain't making no sense to me. None. And I think the court ruling only adds to the confusion. Okay, let me read a couple more of your comments. Romel says, well, must I be, what? Well, must be, I have a right to go rob a bank. You know, that's not going to happen. Immigration and the leaders of this country need to get themselves together. Okay, this is Fayne calling me now. Fayne, please don't disappoint me today. Let me see what he's saying, y'all. Y'all give me a second. Let me see what Fayne's saying. Hey, Fayne, what's up? Missed call. Okay, I am going to call him back to see what he's saying, because I'm really hoping that he can still make the show. I've sent him the link already to sign in, so it can't be that. So let's see what he is saying, y'all. Let me call Fayne and see what he is saying, see if he can still make the show. So Peachy says, many of their documents are fraudulent. Who is checking into that? They just present papers, but how do we know the documents are authentic? Well, you know, because you should have some kind of record in that within your Department of Immigration, I would think. So that, again, is how you find out who is here legally and who's not, because you should have records on your Department of Immigration to confirm that. That's why I don't buy the whole, oh, my papers got lost in a storm. Well, lucky for you, I have records in the Department of Immigration that can confirm whether or not you are, in fact, here legally. Now, you know, a part of our challenge is that this is, I heard the young lady on Adrian's show, and okay, Fayne is coming in now, praise the Lord. And much of what she was saying is that, you know, this problem ain't just start. So in essence, why we're trying to deal with it now in the manner we're trying to deal with it now, because this has been going on for generations. And she's right to a degree. This has been going on for many, many years. But you can't not deal with the problem because it's a long-standing problem. So I see Fayne is now on the stream. I hope he's ready because I'm about to add him to the stream. Fayne, can you hear me?
Hey. Yeah, good morning, Michelle. Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the show today and coming on as quickly as you could. I really do appreciate it because, as I explained to my audience, I didn't get to you until last night when I made the last-minute decision to change the topic of my show today. But I had an opportunity to send you last night the ruling, and I'm hoping you had an opportunity to read over it. What are your thoughts on the ruling handed down by the Supreme Court?
To be quite honest, Michelle, I see the ruling as being absolutely essential, powerful, in a line of decisions that must be made to, at some stage, regularize this conversation and to take it out of the realm of politics and bigotry. And so it's both a legal problem, which I think to some extent Justice Grant is leading us all in the right way. And it's also a political problem. When I say political in a nonpartisan way, to deal with this vexed question of politicizing the Shanty Town question, as opposed to dealing with the social crisis which is presented by it for both citizens and lawful residents of this country.
Okay, so when you're talking about depoliticizing it and bigotry, what are you insinuating as it relates to those who think that the handing down of that ruling yesterday goes against sovereignty in this country? What are your thoughts on that?
That's manifest. I mean, respectfully, that's manifest nonsense. There's nothing which challenges our sovereignty which occurred in court yesterday. That was a powerful decision, one by Fred Smith and others, which speaks to the question as to how, in circumstances as they have transpired, shanty towns have become an issue of national concern when poverty over the hill in New Providence, for example, and the poor housing for quote unquote Bahamians who are English-speaking Bahamians is not an issue which is addressed. The question of shanty towns is created, it's fake, it's false. It's designed to expand a narrative which very extreme, conservative and right-wing people in this country want to use for political reasons. And when I say this, let me call out both the PLP and the FNM. Traditionally, it has been an issue which, near election you hear a lot about. At some points you hear something about. Nothing happens, nothing can happen. You cannot remove and dispossess people of where they live, where they've been for many, many years, simply because, we need to get rid of shanty towns. What is a shanty town? It's a place where people of lesser means live and make a living or try to bring their families up. There's nothing magical in it. There's nothing different in it as opposed to, for example, the low-income homes which exist over the hill in New Providence. But because we have this narrative which is turning on the creolization of the conversation, and we know what that means. We know what the coded language is which is being used here. Because it's become a politicized issue because of the Creole aspect of it. Bahamians somehow, some of them with bigoted hearts, some of them do not really understand the conversation. They come to it with a very, very what I would call extreme and reactionary view. These people on these in these so-called communities, not only are they landed immigrants, many of them, a majority of them, and the 2018 report speaks to this, are Bahamian citizens. We're not talking about people who come from outside of us. We're talking about people who are of us.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
So one of the things that I said before you came on the air is that I think that the government's approach to this whole thing is really kind of ludicrous, because you can't tell me that you are going to tear down these structures, but you don't care where the people go. My attitude is that the first step should have been to process the people in those buildings to find out who has the legal right to be here or not. Because
but Michelle, your question has already been answered, and I respectfully seek to just turn your attention to the 2018 Shantytown report for both New Providence and Abaco. In this report, they make very, very clear that the persons who are predominantly affected by the so-called campaign to remove Shantytowns from the Bahamas are Bahamians and lawful residents. Bahamians being Bahamian citizens, they just happen to have French names, and lawful immigrants, people who have been in the country for many, many years and on work permit. Only a tiny percentage of them are the subject of the bigotry which seems to be dominant in the conversation on the right wing's flank of this country. And I have to say it, I have to call it as it is.
What is that percentage?
We're talking about, I think they said in New Providence, it may be as little as 5%, in Abaco, it may be as high as 20%. Now, clearly we have persons who are not here lawfully and who may be living in various communities. They invariably disappear when the investigators come in. But the scientific report prepared by, I think, Cynthia, I forget her name, in 2018, an excellent report, points out very clearly that we're not dealing with lawless persons in flight communities. These are people who have been in the Bahamas, lived in the Bahamas, have children in the Bahamas, and have been here for many years, and a huge number of them are Bahamians. So I do not know what this conversation is about. It's a created conversation for politicians to use as a wedge issue near election time. And it's been that way for the past 25, 30 years.
Well, one of the arguments that people make is the question of legality, because I hear what you're saying, that they're Bahamians, they have a right to be here, etc. But do they have a right to just go and build wherever they want to build without proper permits, without proper infrastructure? In some cases, crown land, in some cases, privately owned land. I just go and I build, whether I'm a Bahamian or not. Do they have a right to do that?
No Bahamian has a right to break the law. But the very question that you ask answers itself. Do they have a right to do A, B, C, or D? No Bahamian has a right to do that. And Bahamians are known, bookie, you know the old word bookie for putting down their stakes and staying on property because they want to claim it ultimately as what do we call it, as adverse claimants. That has been happening in the Bahamas since the beginning of time. What I'm suggesting, though, what I'm trying to say is that we ought not to elevate this conversation to a level of so-called national emergency when there is none. And I accept that Bahamians, English-speaking and Creole-speaking, have the vexed problem of going around and finding property upon which to squat. Well, then the remedy is in government policy. The remedy is not in going in and mowing down shantytowns and saying, well, we have the right to remove them. You don't. The Constitution does not allow you just to simply go in and bulldoze. It's unconstitutional, it's unlawful, and it's fascist. It's as simple as that. It's fascist. Only a reactionary, right-wing fascist government would do that. And let me say this too very clearly, Michelle, so I don't get you in trouble or get myself in no trouble. All governments have done this for a long time now. It's not a PLP or FNM, a specific thing. The sentiment in this country is frightening. And it almost equates with this Trumpian notion that the other amongst us is taking from us, when the other are Bahamians, predominantly. They just happen to be Creole Bahamians. I don't know how to add more to that at one point. Now, in terms of the judgment, sorry, you go ahead, Michelle. You go ahead.
Clarify what is a Bahamian, because when you say Creole Bahamians, what is a Creole Bahamian? A Bahamian is a Bahamian.
Michelle,
lead us down the path.
No, but we need not pretend that we do not have Bahamians who speak different languages, and we have a huge community of Bahamians of Creole heritage, and proudly so. I may very well be one. I got some Francois or Francis some in my background. I'm not sure, but everybody can turn to that. What I'm suggesting is that it has become a political issue when the issue is essentially very binary and very linear in terms of the things that we can do to solve it. Housing is the problem for low-income people, not shanty towns. Because when we shanty town the conversation, what we're doing very skillfully, and I make this charge very, very carefully, is that we are excluding black Bahamians who speak English, as opposed to black Bahamians who are of a Creole heritage. And the way in which they've been treated across the Caribbean, Haitians, whether in the diaspora or in the Bahamas, seems to be uniform. We seem to be so self-hating in our lust to deal with this problem that we do not understand the images the historical background of this conversation, which only impacts Haitians in this part of the world. And I cannot be part of a campaign which is skillfully designed to attack Haitians because it's a good badge issue. This is a good badge issue in election time. I am just suspicious of any government that raises the question of shanty towns and does not speak to the question of low-income housing for all Bahamians across the Bahamas at this time. Notice that's not the conversation. It's only about shanty towns. Who does that impact? We know who that impacts. We get the coded messaging, and we understand it's election time. So that's my position, Michelle. And you must forgive me because this is something that I've spoken to on many occasions, and I see no reason to change now. There is no social crisis. Bahamians on the whole squat in land all over the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and it's illegal. Remove them. But let us not creolize the conversation and somehow suggest that only Bahamians of Haitian descent or landed immigrants of Haitian descent do that. That's not true. It's just false. A report commissioned by the Bahamas government exposes that particular lie, Michelle. That report was commissioned by our government in 2018. Michelle, when you read it, it will stun you with the findings that they've actually found. The findings were incredible. And the most obvious one is that it's not as pervasive as a problem as people say. Equally, these are most of them Bahamian citizens. What you can tell them? They can't go find somewhere to live. Then the government must step in on a policy basis and address the needs of these people from a low-income housing perspective. I talk too much, Michelle. Am I helping with that point?
I invited you on this show today because I knew you had these views, because I didn't want this
okay.
A show where everybody all agreeing with the same thing. I'm hoping John can join us very soon. He too had a meeting this morning, and I'm hoping that he can come on here soon because he has equally as strong views as you that do not agree with what you're saying. And so I think that would make for a great show. So I'm hoping that he can come on very soon. It's already 12:02. We're going to have to take a quick break. After the break, I want to break this down even further, and hopefully John will be able to join us by then. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed because this meeting started at 10:30. So, what more they could be talking about all this time if he stopped. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to join us soon. But stay with us. We're going to take this quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Fayne, Thompson, and hopefully John Bostwick. We're talking today the Shantytown ruling handed down by the Supreme Court yesterday and the implications thereof. This is GPS.
Located on Carmichael Road, Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and styling. We even have a barber on duty. Need a nail tech? Our technicians provide a range of nail services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff, and over 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025 to schedule your appointment. Want to be pampered? Want to be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
Listen to Glory 93.9 FM for the best mix of traditional.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information.
At the Shirley Street Plaza, you'll find Le Petit Gourmet, a small cafe that's big on flavor. Handcrafted delights made with love will not only please your palate, but feed your soul. Call us at 394-1251. 8 to 12 minutes is all it takes for a burglar to rob your home or business. Security Systems International provides professional and affordable solutions for both. Call 396-5000 for your customized quote. Gwen's Alterations provides professional services for all your tailoring needs, including face masks to keep you safe and in style. A stitch in time saves 9. So call us today at 393-6227.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Pirateswell, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Bahamas Orthodontic Center, celebrating 30 years of designing and creating beautiful smiles.
And welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Today, my guests and I are talking about the Shantytown ruling handed down by the Supreme Court yesterday. My guest thus far is attorney Fayne Thompson, and we are still waiting for John Bostwick to join the conversation. Hopefully he'll be able to do so in short order. We'd love to hear from you. Our telephone lines are 828-3543, 828-3543, and the number to text us is 828-2543, 828-2543. And of course, you can leave a comment on our Facebook live stream, and we will try to get to as many of the comments there as we can. Speaking of which, let's look at a couple of them. Romel says they play in cat and mouse because they are problem who it is the FNM government because they doing things in secret for Haitian illegals to have them here cheap labor. Okay. Kevin Moss says Fred Smith show the government lone loopholes in the law and they choose not to fix the law. They love how it is to have an excuse not fixing immigration. All right. So Jamilat has an interesting point. She says, this does not make a bit of sense, Bahamas. Many Bahamians have no homes. However, we cannot just find a spot and go build someplace to live. All right. I do have a question, Fayne, as it relates to those who have come illegally, because whereas I hear you that this is only a small percentage of persons who are residing in shantytowns, so the focus should not be on shantytowns. However, there are some who argue that, you know, it's a reality that we have a problem with illegal immigration. What then do we say to the 20% in Abaco who have no right to be there? Should we not be more concerned about those that continue to come, risking their lives on the high seas, trying to make it to the Bahamas? Once they, as I said on the show before you came on, do we have what is similar to the American wet foot, dry foot policy, where once your foot land on the soil, you're good. You got all these rights to stay. How do you respond to that? What should be done as it relates to the people who are here illegally, who somehow find themselves in these shanty towns? What should we be doing to fix this problem?
Michelle, my answer will, I think, surprise you, and I think your invitation to me today had a lot to do with the fact that I have legal training. That by profession I am a lawyer. Yes. I see both as a legal problem and a social problem. The question, the specific question relates to what do we do about persons who come here undocumented and try to dig out an existence in the Bahamas. I do not believe. Let me qualify it now. I do not support law breaking. I cannot support that. Any attempt to break Bahamian laws to achieve any advantage is clearly something that I cannot support. But I understand that the question of this influx of persons from Haiti in particular is something which must be seen in an historical context. I do not encourage law breaking. However, once they are here, we have to find a way by the application of some humane policy to ensure that we can stem the tide, or at least address the tide of persons who come here illegally in search of a better life. I'm gonna say it point blank, I am a Pan-Africanist. You will never ever hear me say that we should somehow lock them up, put them on a barge and send them back to Haiti. That is barbaric, that is uncivilized, and it's not something that Black people should anticipate doing to other Black people. In fact, it is not something that any human being should do to any human being. So some in the middle of all that, we need a humane policy which addresses contracting persons in Haiti rather than allowing this unchecked wave of persons to come. And the question is, can we police it? But we must be prepared to deal with it in a humane way.
So help me to understand what you just said. Are you saying then that once they get here, they're here, and it would be inhumane to send them back to Haiti, so we have to find a way to make it work with them being here? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm suggesting that the law must follow its natural course. As a former magistrate, I have repatriated many persons to different parts of the world once they've been found illegally to be in the Bahamas. Once due process is complied with, that is to say, they're interviewed, they are found to be wanting, they're taken before a court, prosecuted and convicted, then the law ought to follow its course. However, I cannot support a regime which amazes me, which talks about raising the homes of illegal aliens, first and foremost, because that number of people do not exist in the Bahamas. Because it is fundamentally wrong if you do it to illegal aliens or if you do it to Bahamians, landed or otherwise, landed immigrants or otherwise. The rule of law must apply, not the sentiments of the Bahamian people, because it's election time. It is a farce. It is a joke. This so-called binary choice that they want us to make. Let's get rid of them. It's not going to happen that way. It's not going to happen today, because who is them? We're talking about Bahamian citizens, we're talking about landed immigrants, and we're also talking about undocumented aliens. And we all hodgepodge put them in the same class, as if somehow resolving the issue with one, it will resolve the issue with the others. That's not true. It will never happen. Bahamians must stop being lied to. They must stop lying to us and telling us we can solve this by going to court and justifying and trying to get an order to justify bulldozing shanty towns. It's a lie. It's a lie visited upon us by cynical politicians. It will never happen. We must stop we must stop being engaged with this intellectual masturbation, because basically it's false. It's false. I hope I haven't gone too far. I haven't gone too far. I got myself in trouble.
That's why you're here. This is why you are here. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good morning, Michelle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
All right. Michelle, this show this morning make me feel like I want vomit, man.
Okay.
I mean, Fayne Thompson in this country long time, and I mean, listen to Fayne, man. Fayne, you sound like an infidel, man. I take me to God, Fayne, man. What are you? I mean, you say you've been around the court and everything. I mean, come on, Fayne, who you is, boy? You gotta stop, man.
Who I is, boy? Is that the way we speak to each other?
I talking to you, Fayne, man. You sound bad.
But who are you? Who are you, sir?
For someone who's been sitting in the court, you sound bad.
Okay, all right. I hear you. I disagree.
Okay, nice day, man.
Yeah,
man. Have a nice day.
Okay.
And the conversation is now becoming so charged with what I would call latent bigotry that you can't even have a good conversation with those who may have a different point of view.
Right. Well, the reason why I wanted to have both you and John on is because I know that you have opposing views, and I also know that you're going to come with very sound, legal, logical argument. Because to me, a part of the problem as it relates to this whole situation is that we get so caught up in the emotions of it all that we neglect to try to find a solution to the problem from a logical standpoint. So I would really like to encourage the callers, those who are commenting on Facebook, who are sending a text or whatever, to do so in a manner in which you're presenting a logical argument. I think a part of the problem why we are in this situation is because we so quick to just get emotional about it, but nobody's sitting down and making sense of it all. And, listen, I said before you came on the show, I think it's ludicrous to be tearing down homes and then say you don't care where the people go. That's just stupid because you're creating another problem. And I agree with you that this is nothing more, in my opinion, my words, than a PR exercise to say to the people at the time of the elections, see, we taking immigration seriously. We tearing down these shanty towns, but you ain't doing diddly squat to try to process the people in these shanty towns who ain't supposed to be there. Now, you say that exercise has already been done to determine who has legal status to be here. We already know that. Why is it then that we are not taking action to deal with those who are here illegally? And you have a point. This is a housing problem. If the majority of people in these shanty towns are Bahamians, this is a housing problem. This is a problem of a housing shortage. And is it not enough for you to tear these homes down and then say you don't care where the people go? That's just stupid. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Michelle.
Hi.
Listen, Mr. Fayne Thompson, I put it to you that Bahamian citizens do not live in bush or in shanty town. I put it to you, sir, that Bahamians Bahamians who are naturally born in the Bahamas, and also Bahamians who migrate to the Bahamas, who did it the right way, who have businesses in the Bahamas, who has proper documents in the Bahamas, who live in proper housing in the Bahamas. They are what I call Bahamians, whether they are Haitian descent or naturalized Bahamian or indigenous Bahamian. They melt in a proper society. Haitians that lives in the bush in shanty towns, you cannot call them Bahamians. They are illegal. That is why they're living in the bush. That's why they're living in shanty towns. But eventually, if you leave them there long enough, they melt into the inner city and become a part of your society. So this is a problem, sir, that has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed with right-thinking Bahamians, right-thinking government. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. How do you respond to that, Fayne?
The very answer which he gave exposes the basis upon which he actually shared his sentiment. He said that they were Bahamians. If in fact some of them are Bahamians, you cannot move them from anywhere. They could be illegally squatting in Timbuktu. It matters not. There's a process. That process is called the courts, the rule of law. If in fact they are illegally there, they ought to be removed as Bahamians. Equally, the same rule applies to landed immigrants. And the same rule applies to anyone in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We are all subject to the rule of law. We therefore then cannot go about our business and seize property as we wish. You know, as an attorney, I tell them the experience that I would have had is in this regard, both in the criminal field and in the civil field, tells me that it's a housing problem. You made the point, Michelle. You made the point. This has nothing to do with the tiny percentage of illegals who find themselves squatting or hiding in the bush, trying to avoid the authorities because they have no documentation to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Clearly, they have to be dealt with. But the minority of persons ought not to paint the majority of persons who are both legal and citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This conversation, whether we want to admit it or not, is about the self-hatred that black people have for certain black people. Let me speak it clear and wide so that the country can hear it. This is about the hatred that some black people have been trained, socialized to carry for other black people. Haitians carry the burden of this particular problem across the Caribbean. In the Bahamas, it's nothing new. The Dominican Republic had a particular provision which was obscene to the extent that it sought to physically remove Haitians who were in the Dominican Republic since 1925, simply because they didn't have a great-grandmother who was in the Bahamas. What I'm suggesting to you that this is the first step in a slippery slope to fascism. The fact of the matter is there's a tiny percentage of persons who ought not to be here. Deal with them humanely, repatriate them. But you cannot use your hatred for black people, and I'm talking about black people now, hating each other. You cannot use that in the cynical political way to win election points when we truly know what this thing is all about. You made the point. If in fact this is such a huge problem, why are Bahamians not being arrested? Or no, why are persons not being arrested in huge numbers and taken to court to face crimes for being in the country illegally? You know why it's not happening? Because they are not illegal. They're not illegal. They are persons who are squatting. Some of them, yes, maybe, but the majority of them own their homes or rent accommodation. Please, Michelle, to help our public, refer them to the 2018 report on shanty towns in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It makes it very clear. This is a non-question. This is a non-conversation. This is the cynical attempt of politicians to win a general election. That's all this is. Sorry, Michelle.
No. I happy you being so.
And if the fellas them won't call me, what the fellas say? Something about whatever it was. You know what? This is a labor of love. It's a labor, which means it's hard, but it's a labor of love. No poor black man who comes to the country trying to take care of himself or woman, and they do so illegally, ought to be dealt with in the terrible way in which we seek to suggest that we should. There's no way I can justify that. This is a legacy which has burdened black people since the beginning of slavery in the Western world. How we deal with each other. Haitians do not come here because they want to. They come here in flight to survive. They come in, they end up some of them in the bush. Yes.
Listen.
Most of us.
We all understand why people flee Haiti. We all understand that. I think the argument, though, Fayne, is that while we are sympathetic to their plight, we as a nation of 400,000 people cannot accommodate all who decide to come here, whether they come from Haiti or Timbuktu. We just cannot take on, like somebody said, we can't continue to take pills to solve their headache. So where do we draw the line?
Government policy must address the tragic need of inadequate housing for low-income Bahamians and for land immigrants who wish to buy or rent accommodation. That's what this conversation is about. And then we must deal with the other conversation, which is who are we? And how do we better love our brother in his time of need? And how do we ensure that our brother remembers? You cannot come here without authority illegally. We have to take action because the integrity of our sovereignty is reinforced once we can police our borders. But we know the difficulties attendant upon that. So I'm simply saying that there must be a humane policy which deals with this issue for a tiny percentage of persons who, if they live in the bush, my God, that in and of itself must invite a so-called Christian ethos to kick in. But it doesn't. It makes people sound like they're vicious, all but animals who want to get at these Haitians, get these Haitians, get these Haitians, get. It's like finding them as dogs and put them in a boat and send them back. That is bigoted. That is fascist. And I will maintain that until the day I die. I don't want their vote. Thank God, because I won't get it.
John is having a hard time signing on. StreamYard has apparently changed its policy now. You have to sign in with either a YouTube or Facebook account, and he can't remember his password for either. And I'm really hoping he can get it sorted out because I dying to get him on this show. But let me just read this text.
Sure.
I was understanding Mr. Thompson's views until he talked about sending illegal Haitians back to Haiti being inhumane. He already said there are housing issues even for Bahamians. Are we to find housing for thousands more Haitians who come here annually? Also, all Bahamians have to obey the laws regarding building codes. In good neighborhoods, Bahamians are forced to break down homes that fail codes. Is he concerned about the homes of shantytown dwellers being torn down? Also, he said the occupants have been here for years. If I'm not mistaken, in a recent court case, a Haitian apprehended for I just moved. Where did it go? Okay, if I'm not mistaken, a recent court case, a Haitian apprehended for attempting to build illegally in plain sight said he just came to the country last December. No one is being inhumane with regard to Haitians. Many Bahamians are suffering, and that is partly due to the fact that a lot of our resources go to taking care of illegals. Further, if the legal dwellers of shanty towns encourage illegals to also occupy, then all should be dealt with for aiding and abetting. I know about the report on shanty towns. This is still a necessary conversation. How do you respond to that, Texter?
That particular text would just confirm most things I said, save and except that their prescription for correction is a bit different. They would be they're suggesting that what would be ought to be doing is somehow joining the jingoistic conversation about running them back. Who is them? This is the problem, Michelle. We're talking about different kinds of people. We're talking about persons who are both legal and those.
Okay, Fayne, you're starting to break up.
We are guided by the rule of law. Article 52 makes parliamentarians responsible for the creation of laws, but they must be just. And
okay,
we just can't willy-nilly. We just can't willy-nilly determine to apply the law.
Okay, great. John has joined us. Thank you, John, for tuning in. I know you're both a busy man. I know I called you late last night with this, and I'm really grateful to both of you for deciding to be here today, albeit for the couple of minutes that you can. Now, I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with Fayne's position, which he has eloquently expressed on the show today. But I wanted you to be on the show as well, because I know that you're going to be equally eloquent in opposing some of the things that Fayne has had to say here today. What are your views on the ruling that was handed down by the Supreme Court yesterday?
Firstly, thank you for inviting me to be on the show today. And forgive me as I am actually moving around a little. But, and I have not had the opportunity, I think, as Fayne has had to fully study the ruling, although I have scanned it somewhat. And I understand the gist and the summary of it. It disturbs me for numbers of reasons, and it disturbs me for reasons beyond its actual finding, which I find in some ways disturbing, but the precedent that it has set. And I say all of that while saying that I'm a person that aggressively supports the separation of powers and aggressively states that the judiciary is here to check and balance and to hold accountable the legislator and the executive. That being said, the judiciary is not here to run the country. And this ruling seems to suggest, in my humble opinion, that the judiciary is overstepping. And it would mean, like I say, I'm not one at the front of politics right now, but if I were the prime minister, I would test the authority of the courts and I would continue. And there are remedies, and there are remedies and damages. And when the judiciary draws lines in the sand like that and dares the state, I would dare the state to step forward. And for the judiciary to tell the state what it can and cannot do, while the judiciary comes to some determination, while the state is well within its legal powers. And as I just heard, and I haven't heard all that Fayne said, so forgive me. And in fact, I haven't heard anything that he said to this point. But I did hear one statement, and he says, the laws exist. The laws do exist. And for the most part, a lot of these people, and I can't even say for the most part, this topic has become very complex because we're talking about shantytown residents. And I don't even like to use the word shantytown residents. We're talking about people who live in illegally constructed settlements. And those persons are, by virtue of that, living in illegal circumstances, living in contravention of our laws. Some of those persons are Bahamian. And by and large, more and more are turning out to be Bahamian or persons who are here via some legal status. So whether they're Bahamian or whether they were born here and yet to be naturalized, whether they are here on work permits, they're here on some legal status. So you can't say that everybody in a shanty town isn't illegal. You can't say that anymore. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they are illegal via their very nature, via having been constructed without permission, having been most often constructed in breach of every building code. These are laws. These aren't suggestions. These are laws of the land. That they are trespassing, that in many ways, sometimes there's criminal damage. There are health and safety sanctions and violations of those laws. These are illegal establishments, every way, shape, and form, and becoming illegal they then become nest beds for other forms of illegal activity
Mm.
and conduits for an illegal underground of illegal immigrants. And human trafficking is just about the worst thing that anybody could imagine. And we all know that these shanty towns are conduits for human trafficking. So illegality, 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 pure illegality. And that any court in this country could tell the government of the Bahamas that in its efforts to uphold existing laws, they must cease and desist from enforcing the law. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
How do you respond, Fayne?
There's no, I do not know that there's any response that needs to be had. He speaks about illegality. Well, one thing the trained lawyers do know is that before you talk about illegality, there must be a finding of fact. One cannot, as it were, taint one or two community, an entire community with the illegality of one or two persons, or even 3, or even 4, or even 5, or even 10. There is a process. The rule of law makes it very clear. Let me finish, John. Let me finish. The rule of law is clear. Illegality is the allegation of illegality. The shouting of illegality from the hill does not advance this conversation anywhere, because that in itself is a demonization of people just based upon the so-called cry of illegality. No government can come anywhere at any time and still be mobilized and mow down people's homes. They may be illegal or they may be lawful. There's a process. Once you go through that process, Fayne Thompson will be at the mountaintop screaming with you, remove them. But let us go through that first. This particular campaign has become the clarion call for bigots. And John, I'm not being personal, for bigots. And we do not understand that we are being manipulated by politicians who want to advance a political agenda.
Fayne, as far as I have been made aware, and again, not with this administration, not in any way have I been in a position to offer assistance to this administration. But under the former administration, I had been very much involved with then ministers of housing and developing a legal, systematic way in which to address the shantytown problems. It would have involved the enforcement of legal protocol and mandate via 3, 5 ministries. 5 ministries if you were going to be socially responsible, because you should include social services for any displaced individuals. You don't want to be doing such things irresponsibly. So, but in looking at the legal situation, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Environment, there are many things, and from what I understood, this administration, I can't speak and swear to what they did follow those legal protocols towards the necessary notice periods, towards the posting of the violations that were in fact being conducted, whether they were health and safety standards, whether they were breaches of the building code. All of these things were done. And having been done, you don't need the permission of the court to move forward and to execute the orders. Now, the courts have means, if there were in fact damages, whether people have means to go to the court at that point and seek damages if they were entitled to them. That's where the court becomes involved. The court doesn't become involved in telling the regulatory authorities, the police authorities.
We lost sound there, John. For some reason, your sound dropped out.
Sorry, I'm saying the court must not become involved in telling the government and regulatory agencies and or otherwise police agencies how they must exercise their duties in the upholding of the law.
This is such a complicated issue. And
okay. I wonder, Michelle, if I may just say a few words.
Go ahead.
Just a quick reply.
Sure.
My brother is aware of the rules of natural justice. My brother, I assume, is also aware of the 2018 Shantytown report, which indicates that most of these premises are either rented or owned by these persons. Rented or owned by these persons. And there's a great deal of dispute fact as regards whether or not some of them have actually become adverse owners of these properties. Some of them. Now, that's a big, huge issue. Now that is for the court to determine. No executive, no executive secretary or parliamentary officer or politician can make the determination in the absence of a process. The rules of natural justice make it clear. If you are about to divest me of a right, interest of whatever nature, there is a process. And I'm suggesting that the reason why Justice Grant intervened the way she did was because she was uneasy. She was uneasy about whether or not a process has been conducted. Fred Smith took the right route. He went by judicial review. Had a lawsuit been filed against the government, this would have gotten nowhere, and these politicians would have been having a heyday bulldozing communities across the Bahamas to make cynical, bigoted points to win a general election. I am thankful for Justice Grant's intervention and the expansion of injunctive relief across the entire parts of Abaco, because it is good for our democracy. It is also good for fairness. It's also good for the rule of law. And you know what? John, let's establish that some people have been there illegally. Let's go through the process, and I will join you at the mountaintop and scream, be rid of that. I will join you at that mountaintop, but not in these circumstances. Bahamians who are not Creole-speaking Bahamians commit the same violations. In fact, there's a matter that a friend of mine is dealing with right now as we speak. We speak of a serious violation of parts of Exuma and which are going daily by English-speaking Black Bahamians. This is not something which is specific to a particular ethnic group. This is pervasive across the country. Why has it become such a big issue? Why? We know why. Because they're Black Haitians, of the people of Haitian descent. Because our natural bigotry, our natural self-hatred as a people is kicking in. This is nothing new. No, this is nothing new. Thank God for Justice Grant.
You know, again, twice now, maybe 3 times, you've made this reference to bigotry, and I only could hope to God that you're not throwing that at me. And and if you want to call me a bigot, I invite you to do so.
Don't personalize it, John. I made it very clear I was not speaking to you. Don't personalize it.
But with that, and I was very clear to say in my commentary that if anybody is paying attention to this, for a large in part, you're not talking about illegal people. You might be talking about people who are now 40% illegal, Haitians, as you say. A lot of these people in these so-called shanty towns are here via some legal means.
That's right.
If not Bahamian, in many cases.
That's right.
Okay? So, and especially the historic mud. In the mud, most of those people had some form of legal status.
That's right.
And that would be the surprising thing to most people. See, I don't speak to this out of nakedness. I don't know how many people have been in the mud. I've been in the mud. I've been in the mud. First time I was in the mud would have been 20 years ago. And I've walked through from one end to the other more than once. I've been in the shanty town off Joe Farrington Road when it was before the fire. And I've been in there and I've been to the risk to fight. I've been in there. I've been in there day and in night. And the truth is that every one of these, as you say, has a different story attached to it, depending on who owns the land, who might be there, in fact, as a slum landlord, renting the houses. And in fact, as I keep saying, a nest bed, and I will continue to say, illegal behavior. And if you've got a slumlord land in there who's a Bahamian renting a room at $60 a week, he should be persecuted and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Well, John, in the case of Abaco, it's being alleged that there are persons who are collecting rent from these people, even though the people are building on what is Crown land. So if we are serious about this problem, I agree with you. We need to be arresting those Bahamians who are collecting rent from these people, who are making these people think that they have the legal rights to build on this land when they know that they themselves have no right to the land. So if you don't have a right to it, how you could give me right to build on it? Kai Mills puts it this way. This is a Bahamian problem. We have a lot of Bahamians who are complicit in this illegality. And why are we not seeing a push towards bringing them before the courts?
Listen, Michelle, for every person who is here illegal, whether Haitian or American or Australian working on a yacht, and there are a lot of them, there's somebody in the Bahamas facilitating it.
Yes.
There's a Bahamian somewhere in it facilitating it. And so most often, we need to be looking on all sides of this equation. All right. And those people, the illegal immigrants, and this is why I made the mention of human trafficking. we don't look at these things as deep as they really are, you know. We don't want to be involved in this as a nation from any side of the equation. The UN has reported that Haiti is one of the countries with over 800,000 people still in slavery.
Wow.
People are human trafficked. People are brought here as indentured captives, you know. They don't come here on them boats for free. They don't get in these shanty towns for free. They paying rent. The Bahamas doesn't want any part in this. And that our government is motivated to move, to address it, I can only applaud it. You know, and I pray to God that they don't offend any human rights. Our government is very conscious about human rights. Every Bahamian government has been overly and doubly conscious about human rights, and to the point of overlooking Bahamian rights in many instances. So I don't see our government going out of its way to breach human rights, and that our government is being accused of such and being painted as some vicious, bigoted, and when I say our government, PLP, FNM, any government of the Bahamas, because the PLP is very quiet on this, because they, I think, pretty much support it.
Support the ruling or support the movement to tear the houses
down? Support the movement. You don't see the PLP out there saying, standing in front of bulldozers.
Right.
All right. So,
well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So again, I don't see this as a reason for Bahamian nationalists, Bahamian freedom fighters, Bahamian human rights activists to be all up in arms to fight the government that is addressing something that needs to be addressed. And if the government has breached protocol, I don't know that they have, because I do know that there are legally sanctioned methods and methodology which I understood the government to have followed. Yes, if they've breached protocols, then yes, they need to be held accountable. But if they are following established protocols and seeking to see that our rules and regulations are upheld, then I have no problem with what they're doing. And also, I don't think that the court should be obstructive to what they are attempting to do to the national benefit.
I want to read a text. This says, people are not being swayed by politicians. No political party is speaking out strongly enough about the illegal affairs of illegals. All parties are courting the votes of these people. Bahamians are speaking out because they are hurting. Foreigners are being allowed to get away with things Bahamians can't get away with. Hear the cries of the disenfranchised Bahamians who have lost jobs, homes, etc. before it is too late. Gentlemen, how do you respond to that texter?
It is a fair sentiment, but one that really shows how deep-seated the social crisis is that Bahamians face in this country. It's a very serious social crisis. And until we find a way to deal with that social crisis, Bahamians will always, unfortunately, some of us, by reflex, will find others, the other, to explain for some of the challenges we face. And understandably, but you know that's a statement about the failure of policymakers to address the social crisis that affects our people right now. You know, I mean, the pandemic has been terrible, Michelle. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. The pandemic has impacted our country terribly. We have had a tradition with multiple governments of ignoring the so-called issue of the social crisis. And now Bahamians, by reflex, are being, I'm going to be cynical enough, I mean, to say this, dissent is being manufactured against a certain ethnic group to distract Bahamians from the real social crisis, which is that our own policymakers are not stepping up to address the needs of serious issues that our people face in housing, in jobs, for health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our people are crying out for relief, and they look sometimes to others, to the other, to complain about, to say, well, the other is getting away. Why? What are you doing for us? And that's all this is. That's all I see it as. Across the world, you see these governments use immigration issues to distract people in times of severe social strife. And this is one of those. And for that reason, I'm cynical. And by no means am I suggesting that John Bostwick, who comes from a family of freedom fighters, is anyway complicit in this bigotry. But it is a pervasive bigotry which is institutionalized, or perhaps unintentionally, perhaps unknowingly, which seeks to unfortunately whip up hysteria against a group of people who are not responsible for any social crisis which is impacting this country. There are too many of them. who do not read, for example, the 2018 report. That report is so powerful, prepared by a Bahamian, I think Dr. Moxie, written by a Bahamian. It is brilliant in its analysis of this crisis. But we're not hearing anything about it. Justice Grant did the only thing she could do, which was to maintain the status quo in the interim, and hopefully the government will get it together to address the problems of housing for low-income Bahamians, landed immigrants in both Nassau and in Abaco. And it won't happen because politicians are not interested in that. They're interested in simply using the wedge issue. The so-called
something that we want to maintain. Is that something what is that status quo? And is it something we want to maintain?
Michelle, I wanted to speak to that. And, no. And my learned friend and I have sat together in many places and screamed that at the top of our lungs for the last 15 years, that the last thing in the planet Earth we want to maintain is the status quo in the Bahamas. We do not want to maintain the status quo at any level. We don't want the oligarchs to continue, and we don't want the shanty towns to continue. We don't want the status quo. We want it changed. And for somebody to say that the best thing to do is to maintain abject chaos and a system of illegality and black market behavior is not, and when I say that, for the court to say that, it is to me just not progressive and forward-minded. So to sit down and say, because we are afraid of facing the potential consequences of our attempt to fix a situation, it is better to do nothing. That is the sad state that has this country paralyzed and afraid to do anything. We got to make some hard decisions, and there might be some consequences. There's sometimes leaders have to make a choice to send young boys and men to war. What are we prepared to fight for? What are we prepared to die for? Yeah, a mistake may be made, but there has been no government go into an election cycle in the past 20 years, in the past 30, 40 years, without a promise of addressing the illegal immigration situation. In the last 4 election cycles, without a promise of addressing the shanty town situation. This isn't something that is being dug up by an administration in an attempt to gain political favor. This is one of the pressing concerns of the population of the Bahamas over my entire lifetime. Something that has been neglected over and over again, that has not been addressed due to fear, and as you say, due to pandering, as the texters say, due to the pandering of that voting bloc. And so every cycle, the administration that is out, the guys who are in opposition are going to say, boy, over the last 5 years, the Minister of Immigration naturalized 10,000 Haitians, and he got 10,000 new voters. Well, the one before, he did 30,000. Well, the one before, come on, man. This is a sick and sorry game being played at the expense of the Bahamian people. It needs to stop.
Yeah. Do you want to respond to that real quick, Fayne, or should I go to the comment from Facebook?
No. I have no.
So this is a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. Just waiting for it to come up. Peachy says, okay, she says, we need Article 7 amended to stop granting citizenship to those whose parents entered the country illegally. The majority of them, their loyalty lies with Haiti anyway. So what are we doing to ourselves and to this country? Now, honestly, that is a sentiment of a lot of Bahamians, Fayne. A lot of Bahamians feel that way. Is that a bigoted view in your opinion?
Yes.
Because?
Yes. Let me explain why. We are talking about the vexed question of low-income people, low-income housing. We're talking about the vexed question of poverty. We're talking about the vexed question of Bahamians, of Haitian descent, landed immigrants, and undocumented aliens in the Bahamas. And yet someone wants to, by reflex, start to amending Article 7 of the Constitution, because they do not want any more persons of that ethnic group acquiring citizenship in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. If that is not textbook bigotry, I do not know what it may be. And you know what, Michelle, John is my brother. You're my sister. I've known you both for many, many years. I have ended the nanny of pretending that the elephant is not in the room. Okay? I have ended that in my life. There's no need for me to pander anymore. To somehow introduce amending Article 7 because you perceive a social problem, but it's created, and that is going to solve it, is just errant nonsense and ignorance. Even if we were to remove Article 7 from the Constitution of the Bahamas, first, how would we do that? Secondly, there is a process. It is impossible to do. Let us stop misleading our people that is the solution. The solution is to deal with the crisis which impacts Haiti, number one. The freedom-fighting country which liberated all of us on the planet. To somehow rescue Haiti from its chronic dependency and its chronic poverty. To address the needs of Haitians when they come here, so that somehow that question is addressed. Now, this is separate and apart from the question of housing and shanty towns in the Bahamas. The two are not related, because we're talking predominantly about legal residents in these communities. So the two ought not to be infected with the animus of bigotry. And that's what I'm hearing coming from that particular question. I stopped the pretense, Sister Michelle. I stopped the pretense. Okay, I stopped the pretense. That's a bigoted statement. Hardcore bigotry.
Michelle, if you allow me, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to run. I've actually got people waiting for me. But it's so sweet, and like he says, he is. I can't help but smile because he is my friend, and I love his opinions. So I accept that bringing it into this conversation might appear bigotry, all right? Because this conversation, as we both now agree, is beyond a question of legal immigrants. It's about impoverished people. All right. However, that said, we must amend Article 7 of the Constitution. And we must amend Article 7 of the Constitution to say that those persons born to persons under legal status in our country could have the right to apply, and we have the right to consider. And see, this is for me nothing to do with Haitian. I mean, it's nothing. It's just to do with Bahamian. And anybody, like I've had friends born to persons here who are not fully legal status, who were British, and I didn't support them having the right to apply for a passport, which they do. They happen to be born here. Their parents were not here under any legal status. They were no longer tourists. Their work permit had expired, and they were born here. And my advice to them as consulars, you don't really have it. Sadly, due to the way we are interpreting our Constitution, you have a right. But for me, you don't. All right? So, because you were not born here under legal terms. The United States Supreme Court, as you know, Michelle, has just ruled to this.
Yeah, I mentioned that
earlier.
Right? Yeah.
I don't feel that you can make right an illegal act.
Exactly.
All right. And so by virtue, and I don't read the Constitution, by the way. I don't read Article 7 as saying it's a must. I read it as saying that you have the right to apply, but you don't have any guaranteed right of being accepted. So, and I don't interpret it like that, the way it's being interpreted again by our courts. Mm-hmm. So, and so as to make sure that the courts stop messing around with this interpretation, I would amend it. Now, make it very clear to say that those persons born here under legal status. But now, that is not the point of this particular conversation. This is a very focused conversation on the shanty towns. Mm-hmm. And as we agree, it's more about impoverished. You would both know, as far as how we solved the problem with Haiti, I wrote and published over 10 years ago that the first thing we need to do as Bahamians is to invest heavily in Haiti. That we should be running the bridge of the diaspora back to Haiti. That we should be investing in Haitian farms. We should be investing in Haitian mines. Why should Americans be there pulling out minerals out of Haiti ahead of us? Mm. I, in fact, at one point, attempted to get the Bank of the Bahamas to open a branch in Port-au-Prince. Because why should we be allowing Digicel to profit millions of dollars in Haitian remissions over the cell phone networks? Mm-hmm. It's very stupid. All right. So the Bank of the Bahamas would be a monster bank in Haiti. And it wouldn't be a struggling. We went the wrong way. We want to always go up to Miami. We want to be Bank of the Bahamas International in the north. We missed the point. We should be Bank of the Bahamas heading south and starting with Haiti.
Interesting.
So the belief in that marketplace as a sister marketplace, as a marketplace that we as Bahamas should be dominating, that we should be leading them and taking tourism services to them and financial services to them, and investing and funding hotels. We got $7 billion in our banks, and our dollar is pegged to the US dollar. We should be funding the development of the tourism sector in Haiti and making sure they have jobs there. So, yes, I am 100% supportive of that. And there are many things that we should be doing. We should not be allowing them to come here without work permits. If they want to come here and be seasonal workers, we should encourage that. All right?
But
We
it
should
shouldn't
more
be
than
one
encourage
person
that.
has a work permit for 40 years. That's crazy.
All right.
Listen, I know you got to go, John. I want to invite you guys back in the future for us to talk about solving this illegal immigration problem. How about that?
That would be a great conversation. I would love to have it.
Yeah. So let me let you go to your meeting. I have to take my last commercial break, though, because, my sponsors are the reason why we're still on the air. And then on the other side
And
of the
take care, bro.
Okay, good to see you, John. Good to see you, John.
All right.
On the other side of the break, Fayne, then I will allow you to give us your final thoughts, okay?
Sure. Okay.
All right, so stay with us, everybody. We're going to take this quick break, and then we're going to wrap it up on the other side. This is GBS.
Listen to Glory 93.9 FM for the best mix of traditional, classic, country, contemporary, and Caribbean gospel in New Providence, Bahamas.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, hey, hey. Fresh out the water and affordable too, yeah. We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want, Ocean Blue got it. Ocean Blue, friendly and clean, best service you ever seen. Ocean blue is the best in seafood, hey. Fresh out the water and affordable too, hey. Ocean Blue Seafood, we are here for you. Ocean Blue Seafood, no one else will do. Ocean Blue Seafood, located on Burnett Road. Contact us at 393-2160.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy, with mailboats US addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons.
With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks.
We're the mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. And by BMP Liquidators. High-quality furniture and home goods at very reasonable prices.
All right, so Fayne had to dip out because he had another meeting as well. So really, it's 1:01. Our time is absolutely gone. Oh, he's coming back in now. I think he must have dropped out. So as soon as we can get him on, we're just going to beg Glory for 1 minute overtime, 2 minutes to get Fayne to give us his final thoughts on the matter. So Fayne, the floor is yours. 1 minute to give us your final thoughts on this on this topic.
It is a problem which we have to deal with at some point. The conversation should be linear and binary. It's about low-income housing. It's about working and poor, hard-pressed people. How do we address their needs? It's not about their cultural background. It's not about shanty townism, because a shanty town is an area where people live for various reasons. It's really about uplifting all of our people, landed immigrants and lawful and citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We do have a problem with undocumented aliens, but it is not at the level that this hysteria should be allowed to generate. And I thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning, Michelle.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And we definitely need to have you and John back on to talk about illegal immigration, because plenty of people think you're talking foolishness as it relates to it's not at the degree to generate this hysteria. Many people believe that we are being passively invaded. So this, I think, warrants a conversation, but our time is gone. So I'm going to reach out to you and see if we can get you guys back on maybe one day next week if you both are available. So let's hash this out. All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this for me at the last minute. I really appreciate that. Time is gone, guys. That's going to do it for today's show. Tomorrow is Wellness Wednesday, and we have an international guest who is going to be on the show. Do not miss the show tomorrow. It's going to go deep. Okay? That's all I can say for right now. Tell everybody to tune into that show tomorrow. All right? And thank you for tuning in today. And please like and share the show if you haven't done so already. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Our time is gone. I'm out of here. Have a good one, everybody.
You don't have to search, no. Hi, everybody. This is Bree Babineau, and you're listening